See you in the funny papers. Well, I mean, unless you're Scott Adams, author of the comic strip Dilbert, who apparently is the latest victim in the woke left's cancel culture attacks. Dilbert author Scott Adams says the comic strip about corporate office culture has been canceled by 77 newspapers. Lee Enterprises, owner of dozens of publications throughout the U.S., has evicted Dilbert and his co-workers from the office they've been working in since Adams began the comic back in 1989. But why? Dilbert is still one of the most popular comics offered by the syndication company Universal UClick Andrews McMeel, and the strip is a staple in virtually every comics page in the nation. Dilbert comics are cut out and taped up in offices, break rooms, and cubicles throughout the country. It's clearly a popular and profitable comic, so why give it the axe now? Could it have something to do with the recent Dilbert strips mocking ESG? Scott Adams has been a vocal critic of the Woke Mafia's darling ideology. In fact, the strip published just prior to the cancellation announcement was mocking ESG, with Dave, a black character who identifies as white, being asked if he can play gay to increase the company's ESG score. This is JP with Political Pop Culture, and this is my take. I used to love the comic strips when I was a kid. I mean, who didn't, right? Flipping open the paper, pulling out the funnies as we called them, and reading them over during breakfast before school. I loved Peanuts, of course, and Garfield, The Far Side, and Foxtrot. And then, of course, my all-time favorite was Calvin and Hobbes. You know, I think I still have every Calvin and Hobbes book that Bill Watterson ever released. Hey, if you don't want this channel to get canceled, do me a favor, hit the like button, then click on subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, you're going to be the first to know anytime we drop new content like this. You'll also be helping the channel out by letting the algorithm know that they should show this content to other people who might enjoy it. Every little bit really does help, so thank you. Now, Dilbert was a little after my time as a kid reading the funny papers, and he never became one of my favorite strips later in life. While I did find the strip to be funny from time to time, I didn't really get the humor. You see, I've been self-employed most of my life, and I've never spent a single day working inside a corporate office. Much of the humor just didn't hit the mark for me because I didn't get it. I could tell it was funny, but I never really connected with the strip or its humor on a personal level. Lots of other people did, though. Virtually every list of the top comics of all time has Dilbert solidly in the top 10. And I'm talking about beating out other heavyweights and long-term contenders, like The Wizard of Id, Hagar the Horrible, The Family Circus, and many, many more. It isn't an accident Dilbert's still going strong when so many others have come and gone over the last 30 plus years. So again, why pull the plug now? Author Scott Adams said that some newspapers had voiced concerns after receiving complaints about the content, but he wasn't sure if that had anything to do with the removal of Dilbert. All of the wokeness and anything that permeated from ESG, so that stuff made its way into the business world, and then it became proper content for Dilbert, Adams told Fox News. The problem is that people see that even though it's a workplace-related joke, but it's more about how they implement it. Asked about the cancellation, Adams said, "It was part of a larger overhaul, I believe, of comics, but why they decided what was in and what was out, that's not known to anybody except them, I guess." Well, that's accurate. We don't know for certain, we can only guess. But again, Lee Enterprises is keeping other properties from the same syndicate that features Dilbert, but they're cutting the most popular comic that syndicate offers. It seems a bit curious. On Twitter, Adams sent out a tweet including a picture of a Bloomberg article with the headline, quote, "Dilbert becomes the voice of ESG opposition." And he said, "The timing of Dilbert getting canceled by 77 newspapers, one large chain, is probably a coincidence." Clearly that comment was meant to be tongue-in-cheek, and clearly it's not a coincidence. Attacking the next wave of corporate wokeness and the ridiculousness of ESG was almost certainly a factor in Dilbert getting canceled. They canceled Dilbert over making jokes about ESG. Are you paying attention yet? While plenty of people are supporting Scott Adams and Dilbert, liberals have been absolutely rejoicing in the cancellation of a comic penned by a man who doesn't share their progressive, woke ideals. This really comes as no surprise, as the vile and spiteful critters in the Woke Mafia have demonstrated time and time again their eagerness to celebrate any misfortune which happens to befall someone not in their camp of ill-informed, low-information fanboys. For what it's worth, I haven't purchased a newspaper to read in years. In fact, there's an ongoing joke around the house that the newspaper gives you yesterday's news today. Newspapers are dying, and they've been dying a slow, painful, and incredibly costly death over the last 25 years or so. Some newspapers have evolved and actually present some decent content online for their consumers. Others haven't. Natural selection is weeding out the bad ones, while the better ones, comparatively speaking, are thriving in the digital world. In the long run, I think most comics are going to end up being self-published online, as opposed to printed in a dying medium. Artists like Scott Adams will definitely take a financial hit in the short term, but hopefully they'll be able to help future artists by making the online path an easier and more profitable one to follow. Here's hoping that that path will avoid the pitfalls of the stupid, moronic, unfunny, liberal woke machine. That's my take. What's your take? You can let me know your take in the comments below. You can also let me know your take by joining the cult at PolPopCult on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, and Truth Social. Thank you for listening.